Hello, everybody. Hi, my cat's gonna come say hello. Dustin. He's gonna jump up to say hello. Okay, so welcome to Ajda News. Now he's gonna bump the monitor. He's really jealous of me getting on the computer right now. All right, welcome to Ajda News. My name is Maria, where I just kind of look at news that interests me. Nothing too new. It's usually old news, which is why I call it Ajda News, because it's news that it's heartburn. It keeps coming back up, and a lot of times it's news to nauseum that is just on hyper focus, and everybody's creating a lot of noise about it, and that's all we get. And then all other news just kind of drops off the shelf. So I try to look at what's going on in the world around me and what concerns me or what I have a thought or an opinion about in the now, right now, that's trending, but then go look back at what was trending 24 hours ago that we dropped, or that was trending for weeks and months on end, but we dropped. It's nowhere, anywhere. Okay, so Hurricane Dorian was all over the place, just literally all over the place. And I hope that everyone is safe that was in the Bahamas, that is out there. I wish you love and safety. And I see that the boats, big boats, are bringing so many people into Florida. I think what United Aid is doing, and so many different nonprofits and government aid, and from all over the world globally, is wonderful. And I also see that the devastation and loss and death is, the numbers are climbing for the Bahamas as they get to survey the damage. So my condolences to everyone out there that's suffering. It's good. It does my heart good to see Florida saying, come on in. There's no squabbling about it. There's no, well, you're from the Bahamas. There's none of that going on, and thank God there isn't. And so, my whole focus has been, we have to realize we're on this globe, this planet together, and we're not a country of our own, really. None of us are. And I know that we're under an administration and a president now that really wants to secure up borders and tighten those border lines and what country is what. But at the end of the day, we're all God's children, sharing a planet, water, sky, earth, all of it. And so I look at that. And so it's really been difficult to stomach over this hurricane thing when I saw so many people I love and so many people you love and know preparing for this Hurricane Dorian is the snail's pace it was going at and hovering over the water, and just there were so many projections, there were so many models, plus the European and the American model. There were so many different things that could have happened, and people were praying that it just break up and go away. Of course, when any hurricane breaks up, the tail end of it can be caught anywhere around there or just break up. So there was talk of what constitutes a Category 5, what's Category 4, how long does the wind have to be sustained, when do you have to mandatory evacuate, when can first responders no longer come to get you when the wind has been a certain amount. All of that was talked about for days and days and days and days and days. And Florida really got spared quite a bit. And then it went on to Carolinas and built strength and became a Category 2 again. But the Bahamas is just devastated. Now, thoughts that went through my mind through all of this is when the hurricane was first going to bear down and hit Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, and then head for Florida, maybe. President Trump was right out there with all the news people and everything, NOAA, everybody, all the officials. And he chose to go to Camp David to bunker down and watch the hurricane. Now, there was a little thing floating around earlier where Donald Trump had asked back in 2017 when Hurricane Maria hit, he asked all of his learned, experted people, well, there's all these hurricanes coming at the United States. It was Irma and Maria at the same time, and what's going on? Is there any way we could maybe nuke the hurricanes and make them dissipate and stop? This was not just an idea he floated. This was actually put down into the history of what the president gave as a possible suggestion for a plan to stop the hurricane, intervene the hurricanes. Now, he's not the first to have come up with this theory. Eisenhower mentioned it. Roosevelt mentioned it. Many people have talked about what would happen if we threw a bomb into it, kind of get it to just stop doing that. Just stop it. Just threw one missile at it. Later on, the facts came out that actually a hurricane is a bajillion times stronger than the bombs. So if you threw a bomb into a Category 4 or 5 hurricane, it would basically just eat up the bomb. And the fallout would end up going somewhere way elsewhere where it wasn't like the bomb fallout would be not there where the hurricane was, but somewhere totally different that wasn't experiencing the hurricane. And a hurricane would cause the same, if not more, damage than a bomb. So there you have it, and people have spoken of the Bahamas looking as though an atomic bomb went off. And I thought things like, well, you can't just throw a missile in the wind and think it's gonna, no, because I think his hands are getting itchy. He wants to use that little red button. So it would have been easier to throw a bomb towards Puerto Rico, is what he was thinking, than he have to give more money than he already gave to help them, because they don't vote. All right, that's the bottom line. To him, they don't vote. That's my takeaway from him is, you guys got it. We'll help you as much as we can, but you don't vote in the general election, so I'm not going to be too concerned. You're okay. But then when he started talking about Alabama, and I totally understand that, there were several different models and several different trajectory ways the storm could have gone in, and they could have caught the tail end in a little rain in Alabama. But this is all, postulating, but once they knew, no, it's not going to go anywhere near Alabama, they said, no, Alabama's not. And the weather officials came out and said, no, Alabama, you're not going to get anything from this. At that point, I thought, maybe the president misheard. They were saying Atlanta, Georgia, Florida, Carolinas. They were saying all that. Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, Carolinas. They were adding each day more to it. And I thought, gee, how strange that he said Alabama. I remember what I was thinking when I was watching it. I thought, he doesn't look sure about what he just said, and I think he meant to say Atlanta. But then he said Atlanta like 3 more times, almost to, if you go back and you look at the footage, when he first said, well, I believe he tweeted it first, but then when he first said it, he said, and Alabama, and then he said, and you could see him do like a brain fart in his head and go, and Atlanta, Atlanta, Atlanta. So I really think he misheard, misspoke, meant to say Atlanta, but said Alabama, and just can't admit it. And the news has been hyper focused on it. And for a while, I thought, okay, 6 days in, this is crazy, going on 7 days. Why are we still hearing about the Alabama blip, gaff blip, whatever you want to call it? Because the president keeps talking about it. So the media keeps stepping into it. It's like, okay, he keeps shit talking, we keep stepping in the shit. It just doesn't stop. So here's why it matters if he did take a Sharpie marker and draw in Alabama. A little bubble, like he wasn't sure. Or whoever did it. There are White House officials that have come forward now. They don't want to be named and said, he took the Sharpie, the president, drew it in. Okay. Now, if you watch the news, press news thing, what's interesting is that I'm really a body language person. I like to really look at body language. The people that were saying, no, not Alabama, he totally had fall on their sword and turn around, reverse, and say, yes, Alabama. And you can see where he's in the Oval Office and he's saying, so-and-so, hand me that chart over there. Let's show what the projector. The man, I believe his name is Jack, he's standing behind the president Oval desk and he hands him the chart. The whole time Donald Trump's got the chart up. He's doing this. He's behind him doing this. His lip is disappearing. He's biting his lip. He's looking ashamed. His eyes are going back and forth. It's almost like a code, like, I don't know what he's saying. Not how it is. But he can't say it. I'd like to know, I know that the president is in charge of NOAA, but they don't work for the president, they work for the people. So how corrupt is that we're changing with the weather forecast and hurricanes and people's lives depend on it because a president cannot admit he either misspoke, misheard, or just genuinely he doesn't know why he said it. But he's, instead of concentrating on, we're doing a good job with United Aid, people of Florida are being wonderful, the boat has got, 1,500 people from the Bahamas, keep giving to the Bahamas. Instead of focusing on people keep helping the Bahamas and all that, he keeps focusing on, it was Alabama. I just gotta say, if it rains in Alabama, he's gonna say it's from Dorian because Dorian's still hanging around the Carolinas. See, and coming up the East Coast now, so he could turn around and go back. We don't know because his magic marker could say it turned around and went back. I want a magic marker like him. I want one just like him. Okay, so here's why it matters. Say a plane enters our airspace or we're told we had to shoot down a plane. We had to drone shoot a plane down or something because, he really wants to play with that little red button. So we had to shoot a missile off and knock down a plane because it was in our airspace. But it was never in our airspace. People die. And he takes a chart and shows, no, it was in our airspace, see? And he takes this little marker and draws it. It was right here, right here. What about if a submarine is in our water, crosses and is on our part of the ocean, our territory? But we don't really know. But he draws in a little boat. So see, the boat's right here. If you can draw an imaginary hurricane, you can draw imaginary weaponry and danger and invasion and all kinds of things. And I use that word invasion deliberately because he does excessively. So if he says, well, they were invading our territory and we were in imminent danger and we had to shoot off a missile and some people died, but, and there was some friendly fire that had to go back and forth and some innocent people died and some people that meant us harm died. And they have no proof. Oh, I have a chart. And there's this little Sharpie marker. See, this is a president that's not dealing in reality. So what I kept wondering is, when are we going to get back to the impeachment news? When are we going to get back to what's happening in the detainment centers? When are we going to get back to temporary status was null and void 18 months after the president signed this thing that took an order that took folks that came from, not only, I think I said 6 countries before, folks that had been coming from all kinds of countries with humanitarian issues of war, poverty, or fleeing violence. It wasn't just 6, but he had named 6 that he wanted everyone deported from. And that's already been undergoing. That's been going on. So people that have lived here 25, let's see, it started with Reagan and George Sr., 20 plus years. People that have lived here 20 plus years, raised their kids here, are being sent back to countries that they never were even, they don't know. Especially El Salvadorians. And I think it was El Salvador, Sudan, Honduras, Guatemala, Costa Rica, and Nigeria. There were a bunch of them. So he's doing things like that. And then he also made a rule, kind of, he wants to get it done where people that are from the United States sent overseas in the military, so they're in the military, they get sent overseas, they have children, they're not considered U.S. born, they're not considered citizens because they were born overseas while their parents were in the military. That's not right. Then birth citizenship he wants to do away with, which is like saying that if your mama came over here pregnant and you were born in the United States, you really weren't, because her bloodline was from, I don't know, somewhere else. I have to remind myself all the time that Jesus, the Christ, who is called Yeshua, that he was an immigrant, that his parents traveled while his mother was pregnant for the census and the taxes, and everybody was traveling and going to different places and having to become accounted for. And there was nowhere for him to go. He was a foreigner. He had to be born in a manger, a little farmhouse with animals around. And he wasn't just, Mary and Joseph that was their place to stay. So it would be like all the detainment centers or the hotel detainment centers or whatever were too full. Because so many people were there for the census and for the taxes. Because that time of year, they had to go to they had to follow the law. But Mary and Joseph didn't travel in the normal route. So they ended up having to stay in a manger, which was basically a little shed where animals were kept. And, you know, we always hear the story, there was no room in the inn. Well, inns then were other houses that people took people in and places where people stayed until they got their little notice that they were good to stay. So Jesus was a foreigner. He was an immigrant. I don't understand all these borders and countries. I really don't. I've never understood it. We share a globe. I'm a global kind of child. I'm not a globe-trotting kind of person. I've never been outside of the United States. But I want to. I want to. If I ever get my passport, I might start globe-trotting everywhere. I don't know. I just feel like we really need to get to know our brothers and sisters all over the world and stop being so afraid of people that are a different color, different culture, different creed, or eat different foods, or celebrate things differently. We're all just sharing land together. We're not sharing it very well. So I've really had a hard time with this president. And he knows it because I tag him on every video and thing that I write. And I don't know if he reads it, but I tag him anyways. I'd like him to be a president for all the people. I don't see anyone in the Democrat that really has a chance, but possibly Elizabeth Warren and Marianne Williamson. I think Marianne Williamson would have a good time getting inside of Donald Trump's head, heart, and spirit, and analyzing the bejiggers out of him, and it would totally freak him out during a debate. He'd be like, "Really, Marianne?" But I think she knows the globe, and she knows people's hearts, and she understands spiritual things. And I have read her book, The Politics of Love, and I suggest it to everyone because there's politics in everything. And she's not talking about an idealistic, bleeding hearts, love, love, love. She's not talking about that. She's talking about verb. Love is a verb. And she's smart. Elizabeth Warren is smart. Smart. I don't see Joe Biden moving forward really as a serious contender. Like I said from the beginning, there are ghosts in his governmental past. There are too many gaffes that he's going to continue to make. The gaffy ghosts are catching up to him. And I think a lot of people just don't want the same old, and he cannot ride on President Barack Obama's presidency. It's just not going to fly. In my heart of hearts, I believe that Joe Biden is a very decent, beautiful man who has the best interest of the country, but that it would be to a detriment to him if he became president. That his heart is really still with his son, Beau. He has not been the same since Beau died. And I really do believe that he wants to fight for the soul of the country, but his heart is still with he's still grieving, and he needs time to grieve. So when Donald Trump is talking about Sleepy Joe or Low Energy Joe or whatever, what he's really picking up on is this man is still hurting. He's hurting. And it's kind of like almost like a busy project. He's really hurting the loss of his son. Okay. Kamala Harris again. I love her. I believe she cannot take the prosecutory hat off long enough to be a little bit more multifaceted. She's a wonder in the courtroom and in the Congress, and she would do wonders with, program planning and implementing and executing those programs. And really, they all can push forward so well, all of the Democrats, but I see them kind of shooting each other's feet. They started off that way. As long as campaigns are bought for people to get on stage, you're going to have people like Andrew Yang who are going to be on stage when really Kristen Gilbert should be on that stage. She's not there. I wish she had made it on the stage. I believe Tulsi Gabbard said she's staying in the race, whether she's in the debates or not. So go check your websites and see who's still running, and give whatever you can if you want to see what they're really, you want to keep them running. The money is to keep going. Bernie Sanders has enough money to stay on that stage. He made a ton with his book, and then he made a ton more when he announced he was going to run again. Okay, so he's got enough to stay on the stage. He's in no trouble. Kamala Harris made money overnight. She might be needing some money. Elizabeth Warren's still doing well. So but they all need a little help. But I think Andrew Yang he's got enough money. If he's got enough money to give everybody $1,000 a month, he's got enough money to buy himself on that stage, just like Donald Trump bought himself on that stage. I like a lot of what Andrew says, but I don't. It's not going to happen. I don't see it happening. I don't see Joe Biden moving forward. I don't see Cory Booker moving forward. I don't see Kamala Harris moving forward. I don't see Andrew Yang moving forward. I don't see. Here's something interesting. I do see Beto O'Rourke and Pete Buttigieg. I do see them as contenders. I do. I think O'Rourke is not afraid of Trump, and neither is Pete. And they wouldn't wilt away. I think Joe Biden, sadly, and Bernie would kind of, because they've been at it too long, and Trump's going to get all the dirt on him. Okay. And he's going to pull out dirt on Elizabeth Warren, but I think she's ready for it. I think there's a place for Marianne Williamson somewhere in politics, for sure. I'm looking forward to hearing what happened with Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein case, Prince Andrews, the Detainment Centers, the impeachment, Mueller, the Mueller case, impeachment. Why has a military plane been being sent to Switzerland and Scotland and all the places that Donald Trump has money and been making private stops? Why? There's so many things I have question of that we dropped in the news during Hurricane Dorian, which of course had to take precedence. But now we can't get caught up in Donald Trump's magic marker. What we have to look at is, okay, he drew in an imaginary, or somebody he had drawn in, Alabama. He made up a hurricane to go there. or that direction. But what else can he make up with his magic marker? So who's doing fake news? Really? Who? So that's all I wanted to say, and I hope everybody has a blessed day. Saturday, tomorrow is easy Sunday fun day, and today is just crochet knitting day, getting it done. All right, so I hope everybody is safe and out of Dorian's path, and people that are making it off the boat look like they're at least in fresh clothes and they have what they need, they've eaten, and I just feel really good to know that so many people have been picked up in the Bahamas and put on that boat. Get over to Lenny Kravitz. Who else? I think Rihanna. Rihanna. Yeah, Rihanna. I think Rihanna, Lenny Kravitz. There's a whole bunch of celebrities. I can't possibly think of all of them right now. There's a whole bunch of musicians and celebrities that are doing things for the Bahamas right now and everywhere. So go check out your musicians and your celebrities and see where you can get. Okay, and then there's also, of course, go to your main Red Cross, your United Aid, all those places, and do what you can. All right, and maybe if you were planning, I heard Lenny Kravitz talking on CNN about don't stop the tourism because there's so many areas that are still good in the Bahamas. It was mainly that one area that it looks like a bomb went off. But what he was saying is keep the tourism coming because people depend on that, and that will bring money into the economy and all. But I was thinking also, for those of you that were going to port maybe or take your dream vacation in the Bahamas around this time, and maybe there isn't anything to go to there now. If you were going to that area, maybe you could donate a portion of what you're refunded to, rescue and disaster relief. That's all I can think of. Okay, take care, everyone, and stay safe. Bye.